What if the most dangerous places in ancient civilizations were never above ground? What if they were hidden, sealed, and deliberately kept out of reach? Because across the ancient world, there are places buried beneath cities, places that were not meant to be entered, not by enemies, not by outsiders, and sometimes not even by their own people. Before we go deeper, make sure you stay with the journey and subscribe, because what you're about to uncover may completely change how you see ancient history. Because this isn't just about underground cities. This is about forbidden spaces. Let's begin beneath Cappadocia. Here lies one of the most famous underground systems ever discovered, Derinkuyu Underground City. At first glance, it looks like a survival city. Multiple levels, hidden tunnels, ventilation shafts, rooms carved into rock, a place where thousands could live safely underground. But the deeper you go, the stranger it becomes, because not every chamber makes sense. Some tunnels lead nowhere. Some rooms are sealed without explanation. Others are placed in locations that seem intentionally difficult to reach. Why build something and then block it? Why create spaces that no one is meant to use? This is where the idea of forbidden zones begins to emerge, because throughout history, certain spaces were not just hidden, they were restricted. Now travel to Rome. Beneath the streets lie the Roman catacombs, miles of tunnels filled with tombs. But among these tunnels, there are sections that remain sealed, not collapsed, not destroyed, sealed, as if someone, at some point, decided that what lay beyond should not be accessed. And no one knows exactly why. Was it to protect something, or to hide something? Now shift your focus to ancient Egypt. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, modern scans have revealed hidden voids, spaces that were deliberately built, but never opened, not explored, not explained. They exist, but remain out of reach. And once again, we face the same question. Why create something, and then hide it forever? Because when this pattern repeats across different civilizations, it stops being coincidence. It becomes intentional. These were not just underground spaces. They were controlled spaces, spaces with boundaries, spaces with rules, and sometimes spaces that were never meant to be discovered, which leads to a chilling possibility. What if ancient civilizations weren't just building underground for survival, but to separate what was allowed from what was forbidden? Because in the next part, we go deeper into the design of these underground worlds and the system that controlled who could enter and who could not. Stay with the story, because what lies beneath may have been hidden for a reason. What if these underground worlds weren't just hidden, but controlled? Because when we look closer at these ancient structures, a disturbing pattern begins to appear. These were not open spaces. They were designed to restrict movement, to guide it, to control it. Before we go deeper, stay with the journey and subscribe, because what you're about to discover may completely change how you see ancient design. Because now, we are no longer asking what lies beneath. We are asking who was allowed to enter. Return again to Cappadocia, deep inside Derinkuyu Underground City. The tunnels here are not wide. They are narrow, deliberately narrow. In many places, only one person can pass at a time. This isn't a limitation. It's a decision, because narrow tunnels mean control. They slow movement. They prevent groups from advancing quickly, and they give an advantage to those who already know the layout. Then come the doors, massive circular stone doors, placed at key choke points. These weren't just barriers. They were checkpoints. From the inside, they could be rolled into place, sealing entire sections of the city. Once closed, nothing moved. Not in, not out. Now think about that. This wasn't just about hiding from enemies. This was about controlling access, deciding who could go deeper and who could not. And then we find something even more unsettling. Certain passages don't lead to living areas. They lead downward, further down, into tighter spaces, harder to reach, more isolated, and often sealed, almost like layers. The deeper you go, the fewer people were meant to follow. And this idea doesn't exist in just one place. In the Roman catacombs beneath Rome, archaeologists have found sections that feel different, more hidden, less accessible, not part of the main burial paths. Some tunnels are unusually narrow, others abruptly end, and some appear to have been intentionally blocked. not collapsed, blocked, as if someone wanted to make sure no one went further. But why? Because if these underground worlds were only for burial or shelter, there would be no reason to restrict access so carefully, no reason to create deeper layers that only a few could reach, which leads to a powerful realization. These spaces were organized, not just physically, but hierarchically, different levels, different access, different purposes. Now shift your attention again to Egypt. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, the internal layout is incredibly precise. Passages that rise, passages that descend, hidden chambers placed in exact alignment. But some areas remain completely inaccessible, not because we haven't tried, but because they were never meant to be reached easily. And that idea keeps repeating. Controlled entry, restricted movement, hidden depth. It's almost as if these underground worlds were built with rules we no longer understand. Because this may not have been about keeping enemies out. It may have been about keeping certain people out, or certain people in. And that changes everything. Because now, we are no longer looking at underground cities as places of safety. We are looking at them as controlled environments, spaces where access was limited, movement was restricted, and deeper layers were hidden on purpose, which raises the most unsettling question so far. What existed in those deepest layers? Because in the next part, we go further down than ever before, into the most isolated, most mysterious, and possibly most forbidden spaces of all. Stay with the story, because what lies deeper may not have been meant to be found. What if the deepest parts of these underground worlds were never meant for living at all? Because as we move beyond controlled tunnels and sealed doors, something begins to change. The deeper you go, the less these spaces resemble cities, and the more they feel like something else entirely. Before we descend further, stay with the journey and subscribe, because what you're about to uncover may be the most mysterious part of the underground world yet. Because now, we are entering the forbidden layer, the places that were not built for survival, not built for storage, not built for everyday life. Let's begin beneath Malta, inside one of the most unusual underground structures ever discovered, the house Sophlieni Hypogeum. At first, it looks like an underground complex. Multiple chambers, carved walls, interconnected spaces. But something feels different. These rooms are not practical. They are not designed for living. They are designed with precision, symmetry, curved walls. And then something even more strange happens. Sound behaves differently here. Certain tones resonate through the structure. Voices echo with unnatural clarity. Even a whisper can travel through the chambers. It's as if the space was built to interact with sound. But why? What purpose would require such control over acoustics? Some believe it was used for rituals, chanting, ceremonies that relied on sound to create a specific experience. Others believe something even more mysterious, that these chambers were designed to affect the human mind, to create a sense of presence, a feeling of something beyond the physical world. And that's where things begin to shift. Because now, we are no longer looking at underground structures as physical spaces. We are looking at them as environments, controlled environments. Now return again to Cappadocia. Deep within Derinkuyu Underground City, there are chambers that feel different from the rest. They are isolated, hard to reach, not connected to daily living areas. No signs of cooking, no storage, no clear purpose. Just empty, carved space. And that emptiness feels intentional, because carving into rock requires effort, time, labor. No one built a chamber like this without a reason. Now think about the layout we've seen so far. Narrow tunnels, controlled access, sealed doors, and then deeper chambers that are harder to reach. It's almost like a filter. The deeper you go, the fewer people were meant to be there, which suggests something powerful. Not everyone had access to these spaces. Not everyone was allowed to go deeper. And that raises a chilling possibility. What if these deepest chambers were reserved? Reserved for rituals, reserved for specific individuals, or reserved for something else entirely? Because when spaces are hidden this carefully, they are usually protecting something, or hiding something. And this idea continues to appear in other places. In underground tunnels across Turkey, archaeologists have found isolated chambers with no clear function. Perfectly shaped, symmetrical, but empty, and always difficult to access. No signs of daily life, no obvious purpose, just presence, and that may be the key, because these spaces may not have been built for what they contained, but for what happened inside them. Experiences, rituals, moments that were never meant to be seen by everyone, which leads us to the most unsettling thought yet. What if the deeper you went, the closer you came to something forbidden? Because in the next part, everything becomes even more intense. We begin to ask not just what these spaces were used for, but why they were sealed, why they were hidden, and why some of them were never opened again. Stay with the story, because what lies deeper may have been intentionally buried forever. What if some underground spaces were not just hidden, but deliberately sealed, never to be opened again? Because as we go deeper into these ancient underground worlds, the mystery reaches its most unsettling point. We are no longer just finding hidden chambers. We are finding places that were intentionally closed off, locked away, left behind. Before we uncover why, stay with the journey and subscribe, because what you're about to hear may completely change how you see these ancient civilizations. Because now, we are entering the final layer of control, the places that were not just restricted, but erased. Let's begin again in Rome, beneath the vast network of the Roman catacombs. While many tunnels are open and explored, others remain sealed, not collapsed, not destroyed, sealed, walls built across passageways, entrances blocked with stone, entire sections cut off from the rest of the network. And what makes this so strange is that these closures appear intentional, deliberate, as if someone made a decision, at some point in time, to make sure no one would go beyond that point again. But why? Because sealing something underground requires effort. It's not something you do without a reason. Now shift your attention once more to Egypt. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, advanced scanning technology has revealed hidden voids, spaces that were built, but never opened, not accessed, not explored, completely sealed within the structure. And here's what makes this even more unsettling. These voids were not accidents. They were designed, placed with precision, which means they were meant to exist, but not meant to be entered. Now ask yourself this. Why would a civilization go through the effort of creating a space, only to ensure it could never be accessed again? Because when we see the same pattern in different places, sealed chambers, blocked tunnels, hidden voids, it points to something intentional, something controlled, something that was meant to remain hidden. Now return again to Cappadocia, inside Derinkuyu Underground City. Deep within the city, there are sections that feel incomplete, tunnels that suddenly stop, passages that lead to nothing, and areas that appear to have been closed off, not naturally, but deliberately, as if construction was halted or access was removed. And this raises another possibility. What if some of these underground spaces were not abandoned, but intentionally shut down? Because something changed, something happened, and the people who built these places decided that certain areas should never be accessed again. And that leads to the most chilling idea of all. What if these spaces were not sealed to keep people out, but to keep something in? Because history tells us what survived. But underground, things can remain hidden, preserved, untouched, for centuries, which means whatever lies beyond those sealed walls may still be there, unseen, unexplored, waiting. And that brings us to the final part of this journey, because now we ask the biggest question of all. What were these underground worlds truly built for? And what might still exist beneath our feet right now? Stay with the story, because the final answer may be more shocking than anything we've uncovered so far. What if the truth about these underground worlds was never meant to be fully discovered? Because when you connect everything, the hidden cities, the controlled tunnels, the restricted chambers, and the sealed spaces, you begin to see something that is impossible to ignore. This was not random. This was not accidental. This was intentional. Before we reveal the final possibility, stay with the journey and subscribe, because what you're about to understand may completely change the way you see ancient history. Because now, everything comes together. Beneath Cappadocia, massive underground systems like Derinkuyu Underground City were built with precision, capable of hiding entire populations. Beneath Rome, the Roman catacombs created a hidden layer beneath a living city, Some parts still sealed to this day. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, unexplained voids remain untouched, designed, but never revealed. And in Malta, the How Softly Any Hypogeum shows a level of underground design that goes far beyond survival. Different civilizations, different timelines, different purposes, but the same pattern.